My dad's got the craziest story. He's like, he literally came to the United States with $50 in his pocket, and just like went on to own multiple restaurants in the Boston area. Yeah, and it was like a really prestigious thing. Like they only took like 15 kids at the time out of like 5,000 that auditioned or whatever. But as soon as I got to Los Angeles, I was just like, man, like I don't think I really want to act not in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I came from theater, so LA is very much about, kind of getting into TV and film. Kicked things off for me, and the way that I met Josh and Justin, my bandmates in the Glitch Mob, was somebody just like suggested one night that I should go to Burning Man for my very first time.
Yeah.
And at the time, there was a social media website or network, or whatever you want to call it, called tribe.net. I mean, those guys are like my brothers, so I'm basically in a marriage with those guys.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel. Today I'm here with edIT of the Glitch Mob.
What's up?
A few years ago. Actually, how long was it? We met in Hong Kong?
Yeah, totally.
3?
I don't know, I guess like definitely over a year, right? So maybe close to 2 years now?
I think it was Toki Monster show and you were there. And it was like
right.
this underground, I forgot what the place was. It was really cool that we met. I don't even remember.
It was a cool bar. I think it was a cool bar somewhere close to,
was it? Sangwon.
Yes,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and then here we are.
Yeah.
So were you born in Boston, or where were you born?
Yeah, I was born in Boston, Beth Israel Hospital, and yeah, I spent my adolescent life on the East Coast, and then I came out to Los Angeles for college, went to school at USC.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. I've stayed out here ever since, so I'm a true Angelino now.
Yeah. Did your parents move from Hong Kong to Boston?
Yeah, they moved from Hong Kong to Boston and then back to Hong Kong.
Oh.
And that's where they currently live right now.
For work, or what made them move to Boston?
I think, they just wanted, like, better opportunities in life, Hong Kong, it's kind of like a hard place to make it, when you're really at a financial disadvantage, So, yeah. My dad's got the craziest story. He's like, he literally came to the United States with $50 in his pocket, and just like went on to own multiple restaurants in the Boston area, and it's really just kind of like a Cinderella story in that way, and it's super inspiring. And he's one of my biggest inspirations.
Oh, I love that. Did your mom help out as well as like a family business, like a restaurant?
Yeah, 100%. Me too. I used to do everything from deliver Chinese food to shorter to cook, clean bathrooms, package, takeout, and delivery orders. So I've basically spent the majority of my life working in restaurants, and I have the utmost respect for everyone else that also works in restaurants as well too. So yeah.
Do you get your creative side from them?
My creative side? Well, my dad actually, he used to play in this band when he was in his early 20s.
Oh wow.
And he basically, this guy in his band was called Sam Hui, and Sam Hui in Hong Kong, he's basically how can I explain it? He's like maybe the equivalent of Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, or one of the dudes from the Monkees. He was he made kind of that style of bubblegum pop songs in the 70s, but he was also an actor. So he was in a band with my dad, and then basically when my dad split off and moved to the United States, Sam Hui blew up, and he became a cultural icon in Hong Kong. So maybe if my dad had stayed in a band with them, maybe my dad would have become a movie star. Who knows? It's tough to say.
That's the coolest Asian dad I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So he was playing that kind of music in the house when you were growing up?
Yeah, my dad, he was always into classic rock and stuff, and playing me Rolling Stones and Jimi Hendrix, and always shredding on the guitar. My dad can shred on the guitar like way crazier than me, honestly. He's got some serious guitar chops, and yeah, my dad's just kind of like one of those like really crazy, like brilliant musicians that like never took lessons, and just taught himself how to play bass, guitar, piano. Can fully just like hear something off the radio and just like start playing it on the piano. Like, he's one of those kinds of guys. He's a really eccentric dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first record you bought?
The first record that I bought, yeah, actually, like my dad bought me Rolling Stone's Satisfaction, the cassette tape. And that was actually like the very first piece of music that I ever owned. And I rinsed that tape hard until it was like all like jammed up in the tape player and everything. and then I would like take it out and like wind it back up and still keep on playing it.
Yeah. Were you in bands then growing up?
Yeah, I was in high school, you know, just like high school bands, just like playing just, you know, everything from Nirvana to, you know, Dave Matthews Band and stuff, you know, just covers and stuff, nothing really original. But yeah, I kind of like started to fall in love with like drum bass like towards the end of high school, and then like when I moved out to Los Angeles to go to school at USC, you know, I mean the rave scene was just like so captivating at that point in time, and it was like so different than what it is now. It was like very underground. There were like these things called map points where, you know, you would have to drive to multiple locations to basically get your ticket to the rave before they eventually tell you where it is, kind of vibe, and fully illegal, you know. Yeah, definitely been in some like really wild, you know, rave scenarios growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it was just the scene out here was like very, very captivating and very vibrant at the time as well too. And yeah, and I just like fell in love with like drum bass, and like obviously, you know, that led to falling in love with indie hip hop in Los Angeles. I actually worked at this label called Celestial Records, which was Daddy Kevin Hive's record label at the time. They released all the Project Blowed stuff that was happening at the time, and that was like basically the precursor to Low End Theory.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you always know that you were gonna have like a career in like anything creative?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I distinctly remember when I started becoming a resident DJ at Concrete Jungle, which was Daddy Kev's first club that he did with Hive, like long before Low End Theory. I thought that I had made it, you know. Honestly, I was like, this is it. Like, I've got a residency at this dope club. Like, as long as I can basically like fly out on the weekends, play like another gig and make like a few $100, like I'm straight. Like, this is like all I need in life, you know. And like, I never thought that it would, you know, blossom to like where things are now, you know. So super grateful, and yeah. You know.
At USC, were you studying first like musical?
At USC, I was actually a theater major.
Yeah.
I came out to go to USC on a BFA theater scholarship, but then I lost it after my first semester because my grades weren't high enough. I spent way too much time partying, not enough time studying.
So you wanted to get into acting?
Originally, yes. I was, you know, trained in Shakespeare and musicals and like all that kind of stuff when I was growing up, and it was always going to be theater or music, and I just had a way better shot going to college on a theater scholarship. So yeah, that's what I went for. I auditioned for USC. I got accepted into the BFA program. Yeah, and it was like a really prestigious thing, you know, like they only took like 15 kids at the time out of like 5,000 that auditioned or whatever. But as soon as I got to Los Angeles, you know, I was just like, man, like I don't think I really want to act, not in this town. Like, you know, I came from theater, so LA is very much about, you know, kind of getting into TV and films, and I didn't really think that's where I wanted to be, so. And
your parents were supportive the whole time of you studying something creative?
Yeah, that's like the one thing I really got to give it to my parents. You know, it's my dad, like, he was like, listen, he was like, I don't want you to have any regrets, you know? in your older years in life, he was like, even if you go do this and it doesn't work out, I at least want you to say that, you went and you pursued your dream. Which is like really forward thinking for like Asian parents, because like normally Asian parents are like not like that whatsoever. So yeah, like my dad, he's like a really progressive dude, so hats off to him. I mean, like if it wasn't for his blessing, I mean, obviously like I'm not involved in theater anymore whatsoever, but I mean like, the just like his blessing to like let me go do whatever I wanted to do in college obviously eventually led to Glitch Mob, like many, many, many years later.
How long ago did you come up with edIT? It was like before all the Glitch Mob?
Yeah, totally. Well, so I was a resident DJ at Daddy Kev and Hive's club Concrete Jungle, and then that was basically beginning to end, like when college was wrapping up for me. And I basically just like took that opportunity, because I was DJing a lot at that time. I was DJing probably like 2 or 3 times a week around town, like, obviously at Concrete Jungle, but then like would go DJ raves on the weekend and stuff. And then like, I think after doing that for like probably like 3 years, I just kind of felt like, I think like the next fulfilling creative endeavor for me is going to be making music. And so basically after that, I just started making a bunch of music, and a lot of it was just like throwing spaghetti at the wall. I had no idea what I was doing.
Producing like hip hop stuff for other people?
I was basically producing some hip hop beats just for like some of like the Project Blow dudes, like Bus Driver and stuff, and Peace from the Freestyle Fellowship. He would like sleep on my couch occasionally. There was one other guy who was in my DJ battle crew in college, Kenny Siegel, who's now in Team Supreme. But Peace would basically live over at his apartment, which was just right down the street from me. So we would like have a lot of those kinds of guys in and out of our places a lot, and Aloe Black as well too. I went to school with Aloe Black, so I actually recorded a lot of the super early Eminon stuff in my place. So that just kind of led into production, really. And at the time, the roommate that I had, he was really into like all of, I guess you could call it like all the IDM that was happening at the time, just like all the Warp Records, Aphex, Square Pusher, Oddsucker, like all the Planet Mu stuff that was happening. And that was just like, I think just as a result of living with him, my first record, Crying Over Pros for No Reason, it just inherently just ended up sounding like that. I think just due to all the records I would hear just like coming out of his room, just being like, oh damn, that shit's crazy, those sounds are nuts. Like, I think I could kind of like, make something, take like a page out of that book, but kind of do it my way, So, yeah, and basically I put out a record on this label, Planet Mu, out of London, long time ago, like well over 10 years ago. And that just kind of like kicked things off for me. And the way that I met Josh and Justin, my bandmates in the Glitch Mob, was somebody just like suggested one night that I should go to Burning Man for my very first time.
Yeah.
And at the time there was a social media website or network or whatever you want to call it called tribe.net.
Mm-hmm.
I put up a post there saying I was going, and basically Justin reached out to me. Justin was basically curating the music for this one sound system camp, and he was like, hey, come play my camp. And I was like, okay, sweet. And then I got out there. I met Justin, my other bandmate Josh, who was playing in the camp next door. And after that, we basically all just started DJing and playing a lot of the same kind of like Burning Man parties in back-to-back time slots in the same rooms. So, that eventually led to like, hey, we should just tag team. And then tag team led to, hey, we should actually maybe try and make some music. And now over 10 years later, here we are. Yeah.
What clicked to you to form a trio? Like, were you ever scared if like things didn't work out?
I don't think you can really look at it like that. I don't think you can like go into it being like, worried that things are not going to work out. I think I think like with anything in life, I think it's just important to just like always go into everything like with an open mind, no expectations, and just just like hope for the best, and it's like it's the journey, not the destination, like Phil Jackson would always say. So to us it's like, I don't know, like like we don't really judge what we do, or I guess like the legacy that we hope we're going to leave behind by results, really. Like that's not really what it's all about. It's really much more about the journey, and just we've been on a wild and crazy journey together, and we're just grateful for that, really. So
how has your relationship with them changed over time?
Oh, it's like I'm basically, I mean, those guys are like my brothers, so I'm basically in a marriage with those guys, but I don't sleep with them, or I don't interact with them romantically, but they are the equivalent of essentially my professional lives. Essentially, I spend a lot of time with those guys, a lot of time on tour buses, like sleeping a foot away from those guys, and like those guys are involved heavily in my, just like very much integrated into my everyday life. So and couldn't ask for like two better dudes to be bandmates and brothers for life. So grateful that I met them.
What was the decision not to sign with a major label?
The decision not to sign? Oh, well, actually, it was purely out of necessity. I'll let you in on a little secret. Actually, our first record, Drink the Sea, was originally supposed to come out on Alpha Pop, Daddy Kev's label.
Oh.
But it just it didn't, obviously. Like we ended up releasing it ourselves. But that was really it. Like originally, it was supposed to come out on a record label, Daddy Kev's record label. But decisions were made, and it was decided that maybe that's not the best look, and no hard feelings. Like we love Daddy Kev. It's there's no hard feelings there whatsoever. But that basically just forced us to release the record on our own, and it was scary, honestly. Like it was over 10 years ago. We had absolutely no idea what we were doing at all. But very fortunate that we had and have to this day a really amazing team around us, and the rest is history.
How long have you had this team?
I mean, basically since before our first record.
Oh,
so
wow,
basically
time.
probably like 2 years after Glitch Mob was conceived, and really amazing group of guys. Our manager Kev Wolf, he's been with us since the beginning, and the team that does all our bookings, Steve from Paradigm, amazing dude, and all those people have like really helped guide us in the right direction, and just really help us realize our creative vision, and really grateful for those guys.
How do you think your music has changed since the early songs you made?
It's changed a lot, actually. When we first, before we released our first album, at the time, we were kind of lumped in with all of kind of like the bass music, left field bass music, and beat scene music that was happening in Los Angeles. Basically everything Low End Theory, like early Fly Low before he did like Los Angeles, early Nosage, everything Marion Hobbs was playing on BBC Radio 1, like dubstep before the Skrillex, Datsik, and Excision era, like when dubstep was like still really deep and wasn't like super EDM aggro style, and basically we were making like Accelerator Records called it like laser bass at the time. That's what they called it. It was super hilarious. And that's what we were kind of like known for at the time. But when we dropped Drink the Sea, it didn't sound anything like that. It was like this like crazy, like psychedelic, like vintagey, like Jim Morrison, psychedelic electronic music, and that was also the main reason why it didn't come out on Alpha Pop. I think there was just like some expectations there that like we were going to do one thing, but we actually did like a full 180 on everybody.
Oh.
And at first, actually, like a lot of fans, like they slammed us for it. They're like, yo, what is this? Like, this just doesn't sound like anything you guys are known for. Like, everything's just like rolled off, sounds like it was made in the 1970s. Like, what the hell is this? And we got slammed for a lot of it at first, and we were just like, oh my God, what the hell did we do, you know? But, you know, the crazy thing about music is like, you know, like you don't pick your fans, you know, your fans pick you, and ultimately over time, you know, like it really just became a record that I don't know, just like really connected and resonated with like so many people. We never thought it would be like that. We never set out to write a record with any agenda of like, let's make a chart-topping record, or let's like do this and get the right collabs and it'll smash. Like, that's never where we come from, you know. It's we always just start from a place of just kind of like, you know, what do we want to say to the world? What are the emotions and feelings that the stories that we're trying to tell, you know? So yeah, you know, and after that, you know, since we did that like crazy 180 on Everybody Would Drink to See, it just kind of like opened the door for us to like really feel confident knowing that like we could do our own thing every time, do whatever. And, you know, we felt confident that like, you know, the fans and people would ride with us no matter what. So, you know, just really, it felt liberating, honestly. So, yeah.
How do you see you've grown as a person since when you started?
Oh, well, you know, it's, I mean, I've just been on this like crazy journey called music for so many years, you know, and I'm just so grateful, you know, like I think like every day it just teaches me gratitude, you know. I often just like tell people it's like, you know, it could be a lot worse, you know, we could basically be, I don't know, like flipping burgers somewhere, you know, today and we're not, you know. And so no matter how hard it ever gets, and it does get very, very hard, it's like very hard work, you know, it's like half the time we work half as hard as everyone else, and then half the time we work 3 times as hard as everyone else. Right now we're in one of those 3 times as hard as everyone else faces, but, you know, but I mean, that's just like what we signed up for. It's a very different life, but I'm totally grateful for it, and yeah, I mean, this is all I know how to do, you know, this is my everything, so yeah, being a musician, like that's just it for me, you know.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
My biggest challenges so far, I think, you know, like the biggest challenge we always have is that we always dream way bigger than what we can realistically execute. Like what we envision and the show that we dream that we want to put on for the fans and stuff, it's just, sometimes it's like way more grandiose than we can actually do. And I think like that's really just the biggest challenge with being an artist, really, is like you have all these amazing ideas, you want to put on the best show possible for everyone, you know, including us, you know, something that's going to be like rewarding and like creatively gratifying for us, you know, and yeah, sometimes, you know, just the budget's just not big enough, you know, and that's really it, you know, and therein lies the challenge of like still trying to put on a great show within your means, you know. So
what does success look like to you?
Success? I guess success is really just like waking up every day with a smile on your face and just being happy doing what you love doing, you know, and at least for me, like, you know, I can say that like no matter how hard it gets, every day I wake up and I'm like, oh damn, like, you know, like I wake up and like I make music for a living, you know, and yeah, it's just I don't take it for granted, and you know, I'm super grateful for it, so yeah.
What does love mean to you?
What does love mean to me? Oh man, well, I mean, you know, like I am currently in love with someone, you know, she is the love of my life, you know, the most important person in my life, and yeah, I don't know, I guess it's just when you can connect with someone that I don't know, you share that intangible thing with someone, and that connection that is just unspoken, and an understanding, and just something that always feels like home, you know, when you come home to them.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, really.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for? What
do I want to be remembered for? Huh. That's a good question. you know, I think at the end of the day, it's like I always say that if the music we make, you know, if it can put a smile on one person's face and it can, you know, impact someone in a positive way, just even one person, then, you know, I think mission accomplished. You know, at the end of the day, that's really just what we set out to do. So, you know, I don't really think for me it's about being remembered. Really, it's more just about being able to touch someone in a positive way with the music. So yeah, I don't need to be remembered. You know.
Yeah.
I just you know, I hope that what we do is like, you know, put a smile on someone's face and it warms someone's heart. And that's good enough for me. Like I don't need to be remembered.
Sweet. Thank you so much. I love
no
that.
doubt.
Bye.